Are we living in a program, some type of computer simulation, or not? Is reality real, or is it virtual? So at first, you may ask yourself, maybe I don't want to know. Like we used to say in the 90s, you can't handle the truth. So can we handle the truth? First, if we believe in God, we believe that everything is going in a good direction. God is good and kind and compassionate. So we believe that things are going in a good direction. It just seems so crazy though. With AI, technology, everything's moving so fast. People are saying the next 6 months, 18 months, 2 years, 3 years, everything will change. Everything's changing. And so how do we make sense of all of that? So we have a prophecy from Isaiah that in the future, which is now, the world will be filled with the knowledge of God like water covers the ocean bed. So in the past, I'm sure to his level, Moses understood this and King Solomon understood this. But now we can very readily understand what this means for the world to be filled with the knowledge of God. Like water covers the ocean bed, that we feel like the water is rising, and God forbid we're about to be flooded with knowledge, with progress, with technology, with everything. And so what's the question? The question is not whether it's happening or not. The question is whether we know how to swim or not. So in these days, we need to learn techniques, swimming techniques, to learn how to swim through reality. So I understand, I appreciate that it may be easier to try to go back to the past, to watch movies from the 90s or something, play video games, but it's happening whether we admit it or not. And it's for our benefit. That God is moving the world forward very fast. It's like you go into a bookstore and you say, wow, there's so many books here. No thanks. And you go across the street to the bakery. Nothing, it's a nice kosher bakery, good stuff. But it's not the bookstore, right? The bookstore is going to expect a lot because it's like, where do I even begin? There's so many books here. So you go in the door and it's like, wow, okay. It's not like you're saying this isn't good and true and there's a lot of stuff here, but I'm gonna go across the street to the bakery. But it's really that reaching that point where we want to know what it means to be human and not a robot, what is really our potential to fulfill our purpose, that we really do have a soul and a body, and we have a mission and a purpose in this world, that God has given us this gift of life, and we'd like to do something with that. So the way that many times recently, and you have many videos that are trying to understand the nature of reality and kind of coinciding that with the technological revolution which we're now experiencing. So they say, well, maybe all of the world, all of reality is a program, a computer program, and maybe we're living in a computer program. Especially now AI is getting to be better and better. So maybe someone created us. Maybe we're living in some type of a simulation and someone else created us. Some programmer. And to understand a deeper insight into this, actually we can look to the ancient Kabbalists, actually dating all the way back to Abraham, the first Jew. And he discusses this, actually. This is like the most in some ways, the most fundamental topic in all of Kabbalah and all of ancient Jewish mysticism is whether reality is a program or not, computer program. Now, they didn't say it in those terms. So how did they call it? Is that you see the matrix and you see those like numbers and letters and squiggles and symbols going down in rows to signify that, hey, maybe reality is a program or simulation. So the ancient Kabbalists say actually that reality is created by means of the Hebrew letters, the 22 Hebrew letters. And so you have methods by which God creates reality at every moment by means of these Hebrew letters. For instance, you have the gematria, the numerical value. So Aleph, the first Hebrew letter, is equal to 1. And sometimes, as we'll see, maybe you can also say it's equal to 1,000. So there's different, you're playing with numbers. It's like a numbers game. You can also do substitutes. So for instance, you can substitute it's called atbash. The first Hebrew letter, for instance, of Aleph with the last Hebrew letter of Tav. Or the second Hebrew letter of Beis, Bet, with the second to the last Hebrew letter of Shin. So that's why it's called Atbash, because that's Aleph or Tav, or Beis, Bet, and Shin. And so there's different systems in Kabbalah that are discussed, that are brought by the different Kabbalists over the years. And so what's really going on here is that God is playing mathematical games all of the time, continuously. And what we're seeing is the result of that. We're seeing reality. And all of the strange and unexplained phenomenon and all these things, it could all be understood through delving into the mathematics of the Bible, actually, of the Torah. So today we're going to talk about the gates and the roots of the Hebrew letters. And this is something quite fascinating, and we're going to bring an example. So we have 22 Hebrew letters. So mathematically, there are 231 two-letter Hebrew word roots, and 1,540 what's called shorashim. So actually the two-letter roots are called gates, sha'arim, and the three-letter roots, which is more common for a Hebrew word to have three-letter roots, are the shorashim. That's called the roots. But it starts off with two-letter roots and then expands into three-letter roots. So that's the way to understand it, is that you can understand the base model for the Hebrew language as either as gates, as two-letter roots, which are called, again, they're called gates. You can either look at it like from the front or back. So it's like Aleph and Bet, the first and second letter of the Hebrew language, or Bet and Aleph. So you either look at it from the front or from the back. So that's a two-letter root, or they're called gates, and then the three-letter, which are called shorashim, which are called roots. So what's the point of all of this? The point of all of this, of these gates and roots, are to clarify reality, to see reality in a very clear way. So actually, this is how the Bible begins. It begins with you can say the word Bereshis, which means in the beginning, but also begins with the two letters of Bar, Beis and Resh. So we're going to be talking about Beis and Resh. So Beis and Resh means clarity. Bar is clarity. It also means relates to health. And so we're talking about seeing reality in a clear and healthy way. So that's the question, right? How do you make sense of everything that's going on, right? It's things seem to be very confused. And so we need to understand how it is that God is creating reality. And for that, you need to go to the Hebrew letters. You need to go to the Kabbalists. You need to go all the way back to Abraham. And the first book on Kabbalah is called Sefer Yetzirah, the Book of Formation, attributed to Abraham. And there Abraham talks about this. He talks about the formation of a model, not only for language, but all of creation. So when we talk about a large language model, it's immersive. That language is not only something like a chatbot that we interact with. It's all of reality. So that's the first lesson here, and the first thing that people are starting to realize more and more is that maybe we're inside of a large language model. Maybe we're inside of a computer program. And what would that entail? So again, first we said that God did create a reality. So we can say that there is this nature around us because God created reality. We can also say that the creative source for everything is God, but we can relate it also back to how is God creating all of reality is by means of the Hebrew letters. So for instance, when Adam, the first person, named things, so to name something using the Hebrew language, which is the language that Adam spoke, and is to know the source, relate to the source of that soul, of that item. So it's not that this is just like arbitrary, that we just need to call something by convention, which is like the English language. We just need to call something by convention. It actually relates back to the Hebrew language, relates back to the source of it, the source that's vivifying it, bringing it into reality. And actually the Kabbalist Rabbi Abraham Abulafia said that all the languages of the world come back to stem from Hebrew, from the holy tongue of Hebrew. And what does it mean to see reality clearly? Bar. To clarify reality. So it means also to clarify language. It also says, the Jewish sages say, that in the future, that everyone will speak Hebrew. So what does that mean? So in the past, it could just be, that's what people are going to speak. No, it's a clarifying of reality. Everyone is going to speak the language of creation. So there's many words in English and other languages that actually date back to a Hebrew source, and that's like quite apparent. But in other words, it's not as apparent. But in the future, it will be apparent. So it's like we're all going to be living in realize that we're living in this large language model, that all of reality is created by means of the Hebrew letters, and we're all going to connect with that true reality. So that's the deeper meaning of what it means to speak Hebrew, is that we're going to see how this is the language of creation, and why would I want to speak anything else? Of course I would want to speak the language of creation. Then I could connect to creation. So what did these videos say? Well, if a reality is a program, can I hack the program? Can I get to the programmer and say, hey, mister, it's I want to have some agency over here, So first of all, God is good and compassionate. We know that we're not just have puppets and they have strings and the puppeteer is stringing the puppet along. No, God has given us free will, and we have a choice, and we make our choices in life, especially in relation to our desire to connect with God. through learning his Bible and following the commandments called the mitzvot. So we know for sure that God is good and reality is good. But at the same time, that what would it mean to hack reality? Is that sometimes the Jewish sages, through selflessness, can perform miracles for the sake of saving someone in need. It's not to do tricks. It's indeed, you have stories of great tzaddikim, great righteous souls of Israel that performed miracles. And so that's many times the way that the Kabbalists explain it is by means of having a specific intention using the Hebrew letters. So this is well established in Jewish tradition, that if you want to hack reality, again, it has to be done with utter, complete selflessness and for the sake of, let's say, saving someone in need or saving an entire people, Jewish people under attack or something like that. So then miracles can indeed be performed, and seems to be the most miraculous, magical thing. What is one of the greatest, most known stories in Jewish tradition is the golem. Everyone knows what the golem is, right? The golem of Prague, created by the Maharal of Prague, this great Kabbalist, this great rabbi, very great sage. And why did he create the golem? It is in order to defend his people from an oncoming attack. Call it a pogrom. So it's not for the sake of doing tricks. So that's hacking reality. But in order to do that, you have to have selflessness, but also see reality clearly. And this is through the means of the Hebrew language. And this also relates to, we said bari is healing, also related to this two-letter root. So it also brings healing to connect to the true nature of reality. And so we can sum up and say that what is the purpose of a large language model in terms of how is it built? It has to be structured in a very orderly way. But it's also, you're making connections and parallels between things. Actually, Kabbalah, the initial meaning of the word Kabbalah in the Bible is to line things up, to make parallels. The initial time that this was brought in the Bible is with the tabernacle in the desert, that you had these 50 loops, and you had corresponding loops. So they had to be lined up in order to, this is the surrounding like drapery around the tabernacle, the Mishkan. So you have to line things up. So in computer programming, you also, in order to save time, to do things in the most beautiful way, you have to line things up. So you have different topics, like, for instance, this one person was asked. He asked AI, what is the correspondence? What is the parallel between nuclear bomb and trash? What would be that what could they have in common? Well, everything is matter. Everything is created, is part of created reality. So there's some relationship to everything. So AI started discussing in terms of the level of decomposition from both, and how matter decomposes, something like that. And he explains that the reason why a large language model does this is, instead of learning about atomic bombs and learning about trash, it sees the commonality in all topics. So again, we say that all of reality is a manifestation of the oneness of God. So the commonality of all of reality is the oneness of God, and the fact that all of this is created. by God through means of the 22 Hebrew letters. So if you want to see the commonality of things, the very best and most accurate way to do that is by means of the Hebrew letters. That's what it means that reality is a function of the Hebrew language. Is by means, say, of the of the two-letter gates, you can expand that into two models. It's called a partsuf in Kabbalah, a model of 10. And so then you start seeing correspondences with things that initially, it's like, what is the relationship between these things? So I'm just going to read off the model of using 10 words that relate to our two-letter root of Beis and Resh, of Bar, which again is just the first two letters of the entire Bible. So it relates to 10 words. And you can think on your own, make creative correspondences. You can create a whole story around these 10 words because they all relate back to this two-letter root, two-letter gate of Beis and Resh. So the first we said is bara, Beis Resh Hey, and we're adding a vowel each time. We're not adding like a consonant, we're adding a vowel each time. So we're staying to that two-letter gate or root. So Beis Resh Hey is clarity, clearing. The second is Aleph Beis Resh Avar, which means a limb of a body or a wing of a bird. And so we're going to read down this list of 10. The next is the one we've been talking about the most, is Beis Resh Aleph. Bara is clarity. Creation is a function of clarity. So all of creation is a function of clarity. The next word is Bari, Beis Resh Yud Aleph. Is in the position of, means healthy, to be healthy, as we've also discussed. Bira, Beis Yud Resh Hey. It's like a capital city of a country. It's also, so what's the relationship between that and, say, clarity? It's faithful to the national themes and clear of foreign influences. So it's, again, we're playing and seeing the relationship between all these 10 words to each other. Bor, Beis Vav Resh, is a pit or vacuum. So I'm gonna link to the class that discusses this in more depth if you would like to explore further. The next word is Brit, Beis Resh Yud Tav, which is our covenant with God, and the covenant that God makes with mankind. And then finally, Beis Aleph Resh, Be'er, which is means a wellspring. So a connection between clarity and seeing reality is related to a wellspring. It's a clarification process, like swimming through clear waters, clear running, pure waters. So there you have it. So in all of reality can be constructed like that. You can, first of all, you can go through the 231 gates and develop each of those into 10. And then if you have something that's of interest to you, you can explore that into 10 and that into 10. It's called zooming. And you can zoom in and out of any topic. And then you can see the relationship of everything under the one God. So it's beautiful. It's really, you want to know how to swim through reality, is by learning the Hebrew language, by knowing that all the reality is created continuously by God by means of the 22 Hebrew letters, and the value of the letters, the substitutes, the transposition, forming words, forming roots, seeing the relationship between everything. This is where everything is headed. In case it hasn't been clear in this video, this is the direction that everything is headed, and that as the water keeps on rising, people will ask, please explain how to swim. And so you sit down and you learn the Hebrew language, and learn the roots and the gates and the roots and the correspondence between all of that. Just to end off, so we said that the 3-letter roots is equal to 1540. That's also equal, if you take the Aleph as equaling 1,000, that's also equal to the word Israel. So to make sense of this all, the Jewish people, we need to be the light unto the nations to help guide the world through this